Has anyone died from your school? If so, how did they die and how did it make you feel? A friend of mine went on a 30-day backpacking trip to Denali with a group just after the end of his junior year. He was already an experienced winter hiker before the trip. This was a training outing for bigger hikes on bigger mountains in other parts of the world. He disappeared one night when the group was camping on / near a glacier field. He was just gone. No struggle. Nothing amiss. Just gone. They never found his body. The best guess of what happened was that he went to pee or maybe get water in the middle of the night, but was so groggy he forgot to put on his crampons, slipped on the ice, and slid into one of the cracks in the glacier, fell hundreds of feet into the almost frozen melt water at the bottom, and eventually washed out to sea. I have always hoped that he hit his head on the ice when falling. The thought that he might have slid for a few seconds, only to feel the falling sensation for a while before understanding that he was about to die. Well, that terrifies me. Welp. That's a fear I didn't know I had. Don't spend the night on a glacier then. Crevasses scare the shit out of me, and avalanches. Falling is bad enough, but throw those in the mix, and it's recipe for serious anxiety. The most amazing math teacher started missing days, escalating taking leaves for doctor's appointments because of cataracts. One day he left early and never came back. It turned out that the doctor's appointment were trips to radiation and chemotherapy, and that his cataracts were tumors in his eyes that had metastasized into stage 4 brain, spine and liver cancer. He was an angel of a human. Every time the class had to take tests, he'd give out dum lollipops. He cold stopped teaching and taken sick leave. He cold used his life savings to travel a farewell life vacation, but instead, even dying, he spent his last months, weeks, down to days teaching his students. He was a true hero. A lot of memories of him make me cry, but none compare to the 5 minutes before he left. As the principal took over the class, he stood at the front of the classroom and said, "I'm going to be taking some time off. You might get some sad news. Sometimes the world isn't the fairest place, like sometimes how your parents might blame you for something your sibling did. But please remember, it's not any of your faults. Please don't be scared or sad. It's a happy vacation with my mom and I know it's coming. While I'm gone, please promise me something. Promise you'll be good." The whole class promised. He gave us each a hug and left. 3 days later he succumbed to cancer in his sleep. Even now, in our 20s, of the classmates I still talk to, none of them can eat dum lollipops without crying. I didn't think a response from this Reddit would make me bawl my eyes out. It's a happy vacation with my mom and I know it's coming. I'm so sorry for your loss. I love how he would give you and your classmates dumb suckers. It reminds me of my 4th grade teacher. She'd give the class the candy Smarties before every test/quiz. She said it would activate our brains and make us smart. Now every time I happen to eat Smarties, I always think of the memory. One of my classmates died of a ruptured aneurysm when I was 12. It was quite a shock to realize someone my age could just die. I'd lost my grandmother 3 years earlier in a car accident, but she was old. Old people are supposed to die eventually. Kids you go to class with, on the other hand, that was difficult to come to term with. Yeah, dude. Some kid I worked with, super fit and healthy, only 19. He just didn't come into work one day. He died the previous night. No reason as far as anyone would reveal. My guess is still probably drug related. But some people have defects in their major organs that just go undiagnosed their whole lives until it kills them. A friend from college died this past year for me. He didn't make it to 25. Had a seizure out of nowhere. No history. And collapsed. On the way down he hit his head and died of brain swelling. We had the same birthday too. It was weird celebrating, knowing that he won't see it. We hadn't even talked in like 2 years. BC he transferred to another college like an hour and a half away. A friend of mine and a former classmate both died of seizures in their sleep on the same night just a few months ago. My best friend committed suicide. It was devastating. He didn't say anything and he seemed so happy. He messaged me asking if I had some charcoal to BBQ the night before it happened. When they found him, he had attempted carbon asphyxiation by putting charcoal in a garbage can and burning it in his garage. That didn't work, so he tried his car too and it didn't work as well, so he shot himself. He tried getting me to bring him the charcoal he wanted to kill himself with, and my other friend was the one who bought him the shotgun rounds because he wanted to go hunting. Depression doesn't always have the most obvious signs. What made me feel the worst though is people who never talked to him. Even the super popular who had made fun of him and acted like he didn't exist went to his funeral and were telling people how they cared for him so much and wish they could have helped. It made me sick. In high school one of my friends hung himself. We were in complete shock. TBH, I'm still shocked, and it's been 20 years. He was a very funny, happy-go-lucky kid. R.I.P. Phil. One of my classmates drowned while trying to save his brother. His mother called me to let me know. That was one heart-wrenching conversation. R.I.P. But did the brother die too? No. He managed to save his brother, but couldn't make it himself. Damn, died for his brother. He's a literal hero. Yes. He was a very kind person. The weird part of all this is that he was a very good swimmer, but died in shallow water. When I was 14 my best friend died. We were doing sports at school, and during the warm-up she fell backwards and smacked her head on the floor. She was still conscious but extremely dazed. The teacher ran to call an ambulance, and I held her until they came. When she got to hospital she was put in an induced coma to try and stop the swelling on the brain. A week later her mom and brother had to make the decision to switch her life support machine off as there was too much brain damage. She was an amazing person, and I still miss her 19 years later. The last thing she said to me was, "Is my hair still okay?" Those are the best last words ever. I'm sorry for your loss. A new girl joined my homeroom group one year and hung out with myself and my 3 other friends every recess. And we showed her around the school, taught her how the school worked and things like that. She was a boarder at the school because I think her parents worked overseas. After maybe 8 weeks at the school, she died overnight from a sudden diabetic low as she was type 1 diabetic. Girl from my school got shot in the neck by her dad who was cleaning his rifle in the kitchen. Mom and dad sold the house. Pretty sure divorce happened too. They moved away. Another girl got raped/murdered on New Year's Eve. It was freezing out. She just needed warmth. Found the wrong person to ask for help. Wow, those are both heartbreaking. This whole thread is one big depressive to be honest. Thanks, Op. My school had a small line of trees out the front with each tree representing a student from the school that had died. I believe most, if not all, were from car crashes. I still remember the silence in the classroom after one of these crashes. I didn't personally know the girl, but there were other kids that were hit pretty hard. That's sweet of your school to do that for your past classmates, but also sad. It was sweet. There was also a memorial at the base of each tree so that the student couldn't be forgotten. In 3rd grade, a girl in my class was hit by a car while trick or treating on Halloween night. Her parents were devastated. One day she was there and the next she wasn't. My class has lost quite a few to suicide and a couple to odds, but the one that sticks with me most actually happened once we graduated. One of my classmates got married and moved to Missouri with her husband. They quickly had 4 kids. I watched as her life progressed on Facebook and am genuinely happy for her. They're getting ready for a vacation. They never make it. All 6 die in a car crash on the way there. Her husband, and her 4 kids under 6. The youngest one only 8 months old. Maybe it's the fact that the young kids died that gets me the most. But I remember how weird it was after the fact. Because I'd seen her posts a lot as they prepared for the trip. Then suddenly, they all just stopped. It is so surreal when you're following someone who just dies. I was supposed to meet up with a casual friend in a city like 45 minutes away. We planned it out and everything like a week in advance. Dude was an avid motorcycle rider. He basically lived on his crotch rocket. Saw him posting pics of his bike that morning going for a short ride. I arrived in the city in the afternoon. Tried to contact him. No answer. Figured he might still be on his bike. Checked his Facebook. It's flooded with memorial posts. He'd been hit while riding and died at the scene. Got a hotel that night and just dissociated for a few hours. Nephew of the school's owner was a close friend of mine. Having asthma attacks since morning and was brought to the nearest hospital. Sadly, he didn't made it. When I saw his lifeless body, I cried my heart out. With his classmates, teachers and his grandma, I was afraid to see a dead body, but when I saw him, I felt so devastated. It's so weird seeing somebody's body who's literally not here anymore. No personality, just a body. Thanks for watching. Don't leave before leaving a like to this video.